On Monday at the Roger Clemens retrial, his former trainer testified that he injected the legendary pitcher with steroids in 1998.
His manager with the Yankees, Joe Torre, has been around the big leagues for 50 years as a player, a manager, and an executive. He won 4 World Series rings with the Yankees. Wow.
He is now Major League Baseball's Executive Vice President for Baseball Operations. Joe Torre, welcome.
Welcome. I feel old, Gail.
No, you don't have to feel. But before you get started, you were asked a question this morning in the green room that I'll bet no one has ever asked you, Charlie. Patrice, who you know very well, says, Mr. Torre, would you mind if I groom your eyebrows? So how are you feeling? Your eyebrows look fantastic.
I asked her if she could come over tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and take care of it. Yes. When I arrived this morning, I was greeted by a security officer, Brandon. You probably saw him too. And he said, Gail, big day, big day. Why? He said, Joe Torre's coming. He said, and I said, what do you like about him? He goes, he is an awesome guy. He managed all these big names, all these big players and for them, he was like a father figure. He was just, he was like, speaking of feeling old, but he was saying he was like a father figure because he was so kind, he was so firm, and he knew what he was doing. And I was very touched by what he said about you.
You know, Gail, you don't think about what you're doing. The only thing you know is you care about people.
Yeah.
And you know it takes people to play the game, even though we get away from that with all the attention paid to how much money they make, whether you get a hit or not, that there's a human being in there. There's a heartbeat, and I'm very sensitive to that.
Yeah. I know you're in New York, but tell me this: in your heart,
where are we going, Charlie?
Are you a Brave? Are you a Yankee? Are you a Dodger?
A Dodger, yeah.
What about the Cardinals?
And the Cardinals, sure.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
In my heart, I grew up when I went to the Cardinals in 1969. I grew up there. I was traded for the first time in my career and went to a ball club that had been in 2 straight World Series. And I knew I'd better mature or go home because they had a bunch of grown-ups on that club. And so in playing days, I really relate to the Cardinal years because those 6 years meant a lot to my career.
Musial was there?
Musial, well, he wasn't playing at the time, but he was there all the time,
But is the answer in your heart, you're a Cardinal?
Well, I think the answer in my heart is a Yankee.
Yeah, okay.
It's a Yankee because this is where, you know, I realized my dream. And
4 World Series.
World Series.
Okay.
Yeah. Not 4, just 1 was enough, but we've got 3 more.
One of your pitchers was Roger Clemens. So tell me, when you look at this trial today and what it says, what do you think?
Sadness for me. Roger was like, as we talked about, he was like a son to me. And I never, and I'm not copping out here, but I never tried to find out what people's business. I just watched them perform, and if they were consistent in what they did, you know, I pulled for them. He worked hard. What's going on now is just very sad for me, whether Roger did or didn't do what people are talking about. The fact that his chances of getting to the Hall of Fame seem to be minimized now with all this attention paid to, you know, lying to Congress, taking steroids.
Do you believe him, Joe?
I believe Roger believes him. I think when Roger talks, he honestly believes what he's telling you. And I know it's some kind of a contradiction here, but
it's a huge contradiction.
It's a big contradiction, but when Roger, you know, because he didn't have to testify, you know, he decided he wanted to testify. And he, you know, got in a place he shouldn't have been.
We saw footage of an interview that Mike Wallace, I mean, he was like straightforward.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when he says things, he believes what he says. And it's just a sad time for me because I know what Roger was in the time that I was with him.
We saw one of the great finishers in the game be injured the other day.
Yeah, Mariano.
Will he be back?
Yeah. He'll be back because he wants to be. I'm still trying to call him on the cell phone, but there's no more voice room on that his message.
What would you say to him?
Well, you know, I had just seen him the week before, and I said, what are you going to do, Mo? Are you going to retire? He says, well, Mr. T, he says, I'm 42 years. I said, I know, I don't want to hear all that stuff. You still go out there and do that stuff pretty well. And I think, put it this way, even if he was considering retiring, I think the fact that it would end this way was something, would be something he didn't want to have happen.
He wants to end on his own
He wants to be able to walk out of the room on both feet, and you know, figured it was his decision to move away because he just didn't want to do this anymore.
But sometimes, Joe, you know, your body has other ideas.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, sometimes your body does. I'm wondering about your life today. Do you miss coaching? You were saying that you don't have the stress anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I work for MLB, and you know, the commissioner calls me every other day and yells at me for something or other. But there's no
that
stress.
sounds like that could be stressful.
You're in stress. That's fine.
You're in baseball, but you also tried to be part of. You were part of a team that tried to buy the Dodgers.
Right.
Yeah.
I was connected with Rick Caruso, a developer out in L.A., and it just wasn't to be. You know, we were a long way from the finish line, and the prospects were exciting, but I was happy that Major League Baseball kept the seat open for me to come back here.
The one player that you think is the greatest player you ever played with?
Played with?
Yeah, well, played with. Somebody you knew.
Hank
first.
Aaron.
Aaron was. And
Hank Aaron.
The best player you ever managed?
Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter.
You know, again, I don't know. He may not be gifted with the best ability in the world, but when you put the package together, there's something special about this young man.
I think so too.
That he's a leader. He was a leader at 21 years old without trying to be, and he's got that fire burning in his stomach all the time. He's very, very special.
I'm thinking the package looks good when it comes to Derek Jeter.
Not too bad. Not too
I
bad.
agree. I agree.
How is baseball changing? How is it different today than even when you were managing?
Well, you know, the word entitlement comes up a lot. I don't see that only in baseball, but in other sports, where, you know, players used to come to the big leagues, tiptoe into the clubhouse, and where do I fit in? These players just burst onto the scene, and they're talented, there's no question. They're better conditioned than we were years and years ago. I think the game is better. I think the game is more scrutinized because of technology, and but I think the game overall is better because we have players that probably are in better shape than we were years ago.
Will we see a 400 hitter?
That's tough. That's tough. I really don't think so. 4 out of 10 is very tough. We change pitchers too often for that.
Well, it is really good to see you.
Thank you.
Really good to see you.
Thank you, Charlie. I want to invite you to our dinner, and you also, Gail, our Safe at Home Foundation, where we put safe rooms in schools, and we are very proud of our foundation. And November 8th.
Thank you.
I will mark it down. I went years ago. I enjoyed it, and like your wife too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do.
Pleasure
too.
to have you here,
awesome.
and you continue to do good work, and stay in baseball is a good thing for all of us.